Yes, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you are going to be participating in the CASP chat for undergraduate research, you are in the right link. If you are participating in a different CASP chat, again, please make sure to go to that chat box and click on the link and then find the appropriate Zoom link and password. But before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our presenters for today. They are part of the Academic Enrichment Program, which falls under Student Retention and Success, which is where CASP falls under as well. So we love working with AEP. And I will let them go ahead and introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about undergraduate research at UC San Diego. And then don't forget to use the Q&A feature at the bottom to ask any questions.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Tyler Rogers, and I work in the Office of Academic Enrichment Programs with wonderful students and wonderful colleagues, one of whom is joining me today. I'll pass it over to you, Veronica.
Welcome to UC San Diego. And my name is Veronica Bejar. I'm the Assistant Director of Academic Enrichment Programs at McNair.
So we're going to get started. I'm going to do a screen share and pull up our presentation. And we're delighted that we'll be speaking with you and for the first, I would say, first half of the session. And we're also going to be joined by a couple student panelists who will be sharing their experiences with research. So just be aware that the session is being recorded as you're already aware of. And also, I've been having some audio issues with my internet connection. So if for whatever reason I'm cutting out, Veronica, feel free to interrupt me and we can address the technical issues. So first, to get started, this is our team, or some members of our team. As we mentioned before, we're in the Office of Academic Enrichment Programs. And specifically, we work to support students who are interested in pursuing their own intellectual curiosity through research. In most cases, these are research opportunities that are mentored by faculty here at UC San Diego. But also beyond the specific opportunities that we offer through our office, specific scholarship program. We have a summer research program that's ongoing right now. Really, we're a great resource if you just have questions about how do I get involved with research? What is research? What are the first steps I should take? Our office is for all students, and we should really, we're happy to be a first stop for anybody who has those sorts of questions and is looking to get engaged. So that's a little bit of what we'll be talking about in the next few minutes. So again, to go back to this bigger question, what is research? Research is a detailed study of a specific problem, topic, concern, or issue, and usually it's centered around a research question. So it's, I'm curious, I want to learn more about something. When we think about research, it might be something that's brand new. It might be something that people haven't studied before, a particular set of genes, a specific kind of pharmaceutical treatment, a new set of historical documents that people haven't looked at before, a set of paintings that you're analyzing from an art history perspective that nobody knows about. But it also might be that you're building upon existing information and that you're in conversation with other people. And really, in most cases, doing research is a combination of these things. So you're taking what's already existing, an ongoing conversation about a topic or question idea that you're passionate about, and then you're adding your own perspective, your own analysis within that. And so we really, this is a great quote from ethnographer and literary figure Zora Neale Hurston, who wrote, "Research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose." So really, when we think about research, what we're ultimately talking about is that you're intellectually curious about something and you're pursuing that in some formalized way. So when you think about the benefits of doing research, why might you be interested in this? There's a whole range of reasons, and we'll talk about some of them here. And I know that our student panelists will also build upon some of these themes. So for one, it's a way to create and share knowledge, right? It's really exciting to think about yourself as a researcher that you're also creating knowledge. So often as a student, you're more in a knowledge consumer role, right? You're taking classes, you're doing what you need to pass your classes, take tests, right? But you're also, you know, in your courses, in many cases, you're already doing research, right? If you're writing papers, if you're performing laboratory experiments, you're pursuing different kinds of knowledge in a unique and novel way. So that's what's really exciting, is research allows for you to think of yourself as a creator of knowledge as well as a consumer of knowledge. It's a way to build relationships with mentors. So in particular, we encourage mentorship among communities of students, right? So to think about how you're uplifting and supporting each other in a community of scholars, but also research involves building mentorship with faculty, with professors on campus. And these are relationships that can be really beneficial to your pursuits as you're moving along at UC San Diego. You're trying to figure out which courses you should be taking, right? You can talk to a range of advisors, but also mentors that you develop closer relationships to. You can talk about if you're interested in pursuing other opportunities beyond the classroom. If you might want to go to graduate school one day, these are people that can write you letters of recommendation. They can point you towards other opportunities and things that you might not even be thinking about. And they can have really great conversations with you about how they got where they are and how you might pursue that as well. In addition, these research opportunities in some cases provide academic credit, so you might get an independent study course credit. Again, if you're thinking about graduate school, they're a really nice stepping stone to have some experience that you can write about in graduate school application essays. You gain a range of really wonderful skills around critical thinking, communication, certainly public speaking, conveying your research to a broader audience. Again, going back to this mentorship piece, cultivating community with peers, right? So that you have a sense of a scholarly community of other students who also are pursuing their intellectual curiosity, and you're able to connect and have conversations about those things that you're all working towards. Conference experience, right? So of course, right now, travel is less common. Most of our conferences are being conducted in these virtual realms. But certainly during this time, as well as once we're moving back into more in-person opportunities, traveling to conferences is another benefit of conducting research. And I'm already seeing in the Q&A, there's a really great question about remote-based research opportunities, and we will be speaking about that more as we move along. But just to be clear, we absolutely are supporting students who are conducting research remotely during this time, and that can look a lot of different ways. There's really creative ways that people have been pursuing their projects, even if it requires other in-person things that aren't possible right now. People have been able to pivot their work towards working with existing sources that are out there. We can talk a lot more about that, especially during Q&A, but I just want to be very clear that our research programs have continued uninterrupted throughout this period of remote learning. Of course, there are adjustments that we've made and that we continue to make very creatively and collaboratively with our faculty, mentors, and students. But overall, there has been a lot of continuity in that if you're interested in pursuing research, it can definitely happen during this time as well. And also, again, just developing a broad network and building connections with mentors is part of that as well. So when it comes to the question of who should do research, really we hope that everybody will take the opportunity at some point to pursue research. It's fine if you find out this is not what you're interested in doing in a long-term sense, but there's a lot of really wonderful things to be gained from at least getting a bit of research experience. So we encourage everybody to get involved, and you know, if maybe you decide you want to stick with it for longer and we have other opportunities that you would apply to at that point, or maybe you just want to you know, have one experience and then, you know, continue to try other things. Either way, that's wonderful. An important thing to keep in mind is that there are research opportunities for students across all fields of study, all years, right? So first year through senior year, and for all citizenship statuses. So whether you're a US citizen, permanent resident, undocumented student, international student, no matter what, we have different opportunities that anybody can get involved in. And we can also talk with you if you have questions about your eligibility for particular kinds of opportunities. We can point you in the direction of which things you would be eligible for. And these are just a few examples of many of the wonderful and projects that students have pursued across disciplines. There's always more things that people are doing, but just to give you a sense of the range of projects our students work on, students have worked on projects analyzing health impacts of healthcare disparities upon Black women's experiences in the healthcare system, body movement and dance, molecular basis of Alzheimer's disease, writing experimental poetry. So a lot of projects also that have creative as well as research components. Aerodynamics of a plane wing based on stingray physiology, movement abilities of preschoolers who are born premature, and Latinx families' role in nourishing resilience. So if you're interested in something, no matter what department it might be in, there's an opportunity for you to get involved with research. So one of the biggest pieces of this, and the part that often is one of the most challenging but also exciting, is identifying a faculty mentor. And so we have a few steps here about how to identify potential mentors, but also we'll talk about this more in the Q&A certainly at the end. So as you're taking classes, it's useful to think about those professors not only as your teacher for that course, but as potential mentors. So if you're trying to identify mentors, reach out to professors with whom you've already taken courses, and also search the course catalog and departmental websites for faculty members with whom you might want to take a course in the near future. So maybe there's a course that you might not be able to take for another year or two, but you see that this is the professor who teaches it and that's connected to what you're interested in. So, don't wait. It's always a good time to send them an email, introduce yourself, and see whether they'd be willing to meet and talk more about your overlapping interests. There's also some really great online tools that we've included the URLs for here. So I encourage you to screenshot these or write these down if you'd like. There's the Research Experience and Applied Learning Portal, or REAL portal, and also the UC San Diego Pivot database, where you can search for things that faculty members are working on in fields related to your interests. So this is also great. Maybe you're not sure what project you might want to propose, or maybe it's hard for you to come up with something that you want to study on your own. So you can look at these resources and see what are projects that professors are already working on collaboratively with other graduate students, undergraduate students, research scientists, a whole range of people across campus. So these are really great resources to understand more about what are the kinds of projects people are pursuing and how you might get involved. So again, if you identify a possible mentor, it's always a good idea to reach out, introduce yourself, maybe over email, especially now, of course, that we're doing things virtually, but also, right, once we're in an in-person setting, feel free to seek somebody out during office hours or introduce yourself after class, anything along those lines. And, in that introduction, explain your research interests in relationship to their scholarly work and ask whether they'd be willing to further discuss the possibility of serving as a mentor. And one note that's important just to state explicitly is a lot of times the most difficult part of this is putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and concerns about how busy faculty members are and the recognition. Well, if they're so busy, why would they want to work with me, right? I don't want to be a burden to them. But I think it's important to recognize that while faculty members are busy, and sometimes they might seem intimidating to approach at first, really they're excited to meet young scholars who share their intellectual interests, people who are just getting involved in for the first time in these fields of study. They're drawn to teaching because of those relationships. And so I think it's really important to talk about that and to think about that. Not only that reaching out to a faculty mentor is a way to be rejected or denied, but really in many cases, they'll be very excited to work with you as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Veronica, who will be talking more about our specific programs, as well as a range of conferences and other opportunities that we offer through our office.
Tyler, and there are a few questions that we're going to address them, either, type our responses or we can address them at the end of this presentation. So as Tyler said, we have several opportunities for you. You can start doing research as a freshman, as a sophomore, as a transfer student with a junior status or seniors. So for example, we have the programs for freshmen. We have the 12th program that Tyler, you're lucky because he's here and he's the coordinator for the 12th program. And we have the undergrad research scholars. Right now we have about 70 students doing research projects, and all of them are receiving a stipend. And what that means that all of them are being paid to do research. It's a scholarship. So overall, we have 170 students conducting research projects, and all of them are receiving some type of compensation for the research. One of the requirements is they cannot work and they cannot take classes. So if you're interested in doing research during the summer with us, those two are main requirements. However, if you're going to start doing research right away, you can dedicate at least 10 hours of your time to do a project. One of the questions addressed if does research go hand in hand with an internship program? Very good question. An internship program might be different from a research project. During the academic year, during the quarter system, we would like you to have at least 10 hours, dedicate at least 10 hours of your time dedicated to your project. Then, for example, going back to the chart, we have 3 other programs. The McNair program, it's funded by the U.S. Department of Education, and I can give more information later. The faculty mentor program that this year, this upcoming academic year, we are doing something new. The needs are different. So we're opening the faculty mentor program starting in the fall. You will get credit. You will get $199 special studies credit to do research. And also you will have some other demands that you have to turn in a paper. And then you also have to do a presentation. And then we have the UC Scholars Program. We have right now 8 students doing research projects in all majors, and they are taking the GRE class, and they are going to be presenting in a couple of weeks their findings. So like I said, we have a variety of programs that you can participate. During the academic year, we have another program that is funded by the National Science Foundation, and it's the CAMP program, the California Alliance for Minority. And the purpose of that program is to prepare underrepresented students in the STEM area. All the UC schools, they have a program like this. It's a year-round program. The McNair program, we will start the recruitment in the fall, and then you will be doing research in the winter, spring, and summer. Trails program. The beautiful thing about this program, you can do research every single quarter. There are some specific guidelines that tailor my address later. Again, the faculty mentor program, I already mentioned that. This year, you can start doing research in the fall. Then over the summer program, we have this variety of programs. We have CAMP, again, just for the summer, the McNair program. The difference of all these programs will be the length of the research projects. Some of them are going to be 8 weeks, and others are going to be 10 weeks. So if I can go to the next one, please. So once you have that experience of doing research, you are going to be opening other doors. And that means you're going to be able to present at conferences. You're going to be able to become an expert. And you're going to have 10, 15 minutes to share your findings. At academic enrichment programs, we organize several conferences. So we're going to have these were done in the past, and we have the URC, Undergrad Research Conference, one specific one for McNair and the faculty mentor. But there is one that is coming. It's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. And we are here to invite you. You can sign in and you can be a guest, and you will see about 200 students presenting their findings. And I want you to feel comfortable and applying, and registering to it. You can register, it's free. You will have up 2 days to attend conferences. We're gonna do it on, the first day is gonna be Thursday, August 13th, and the second one is gonna be Friday. And it's gonna be we're gonna have morning sessions, we're gonna have afternoon sessions. And we're extremely honored because this year, our chancellor is going to be opening the remarks. And as you all know, you are chancellor scholars. So it would be great if you can see how he's supporting undergrad research on our campus. So you're going to have a copy of this presentation, and then you just click there and then you can register. Next, please. Then we're going to move in. You're going to have your the students are going to have the first presentation, friendly one here on campus. And that will open other doors. And that, what I mean by that is that you're going to be able to apply to professional and national conferences. We're listing some of them. As you can imagine, most of them this year are going to be virtual. The first conference, which is one of my favorite ones, is SACNAS. It's the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native American in Sciences. And this year was going to be in Long Beach, but now it's going to be virtual and it's going to be open to everybody. It's one of the few conferences that will combine research academics with culture. They embrace culture. So you will have a couple of events. When one of them you're going to enhance, the Mexican American community, and another event where you're going to embrace the Native American community in our nation. So we support all our students. I'm very proud to say that we send students to these conferences, and there are competitions, and every year they come back with awards. Also, for one of the first conference, for the SACNAS conference, happens that our institution, UC San Diego, it's a silver sponsor. What that means, is like they sponsor the conference, and we have several students presenting, and we're supporting the next generation doing research. And I have the next one right here. National Competitive Scholarships. We call them NCS. These are one of the most prestigious awards and fellowships in the nation. And we're really happy to say that every year, UC San Diego students are nominated and they receive these fellowships. This year, we're really proud to say that, one of our students received the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship, and that is for New Americans. I'm happy to say that student, an underrepresented student right now in the School of Medicine, that she's going to become a physician, received that award. We also have another scholar that she has been doing research, undergrad research for almost 2 summers, and she received the Barry Goldwater Scholarship. And then I can go on and on. Please, we're here to help you. Visit our website. You're going to find the specific requirements for these fellowships. Some of them will support you to do research in foreign countries. Things is going to be different this year, but the support is there. And some of them is going to take time. So start thinking about, visit their website and start planning. It's never too soon to start thinking about, I want to become a Marshall Scholar. And it's going to take, you have to, maybe you have to apply at your junior year, but you can start planning right now. What am I doing right now to become a competitive scholar in the future? Next one. So now it's my honor, to introduce, we invited a couple of students so they can share their own experience doing research projects. And I hope, is James here? Okay, so James Garrafa-Luna. He is a CASP student, just like you. He is in the Rebel College. He's a chemistry and mathematics majors, and he has participated in at least 3 of our programs. He participated in the McNair program last summer. He participated in several quarters through the Trails program, and right now he's doing research under the CAMP program. In addition to do undergrad research projects, he has also been able to study abroad, and he has been able to visit twice Spain. So please help me welcoming James, and hopefully he will introduce himself again and provide us with more inside information about his research experience. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is James Garrafa. Again, as she said, as Veronica said, I'm a 4th year. I'm studying chemistry, and I'm actually minoring in mathematics because I think being part of research programs and doing research in math can help you decide whether you like something or not. So as Veronica said, I've been in 2 research programs for the summer, McNair and CAMP. I've done 2 different topics. So for McNair, I did mathematics education, which was very fun, but at the end wasn't what I really liked. And this summer, I'm doing research on environmental chemistry, studying some samples of like contaminants in the ocean. So that's very cool, you know, how to have that opportunity to do research in many fields, and that there's still like a lot of programs that you can take advantage of. I participated under the TRIALS program as it was a scholarship for me to study abroad. I studied abroad in Madrid in Spain. So yes, and I've been in a global seminar too. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I also want to introduce our other student panelist for today, Anahi Ibarra, who is a recent alum of UC San Diego and also participated in our opportunities through both the McNair program as well as the TRIALS program. And what's really exciting is that Anahi also most recently created this wonderful research guide, which is available under our resources on our website. So again, if you go to our website, which is aep.ucsd.edu, this is one of the resources that you'll find there. It's a really wonderful guide that demystifies how to get involved. And this is actually something that Anahi did as part of her TRIALS project this past year. So Anahi, I would invite you to introduce yourself a little bit more, talk about the work you've been doing, and then we're going to open it up for more of a discussion. So please keep the questions coming in. I see some really great questions already that we're going to discuss more. But first, I'll turn it over to Anahi to say a little bit more about yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here, first of all. So yes, my name is Anahi Ibarra. I graduated recently back in March, and I'm currently training to be a teacher this fall, so super excited. So just a little bit about myself. I majored in sociology, and I'm from South Central Los Angeles, so any of my LA peeps are on here, shout out to you. And yes, I was a part of McNair Scholars Program, where I was able to do research on basic needs, more particularly focusing on how students' identities and their intersecting identities impact the way that they navigate basic needs resources on campus. So that was my McNair project. And then under TRIALS, as Tyler mentioned, I did research on, kind of funny, on why students don't do research. So I was specifically interested in first generation student experiences. As a first generation student myself, I know that when I applied to these research programs, I honestly didn't really know what research looked like, what it meant really, or like what researchers do, obviously until I started doing research. And so I kind of wanted to look more into the student experience and ask students, fellow student questions about what might be some reasons that they don't participate in research, or what might be some barriers that are existing, and how the university can better address sort of these challenges. And so that's why I created this research guide here to kind of be like a first one-stop start type of thing, like that students can go to learn more about what research is and what it can look like. So that's sort of just a little bit about my project.
Thank you, Anahi. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit. I stopped sharing my screen, and we already have some great questions coming in. But again, please, to all of our participants, feel free to submit more. I wanted to start off following up on this question that came up earlier about remote-based research opportunities. Both of you at this point have a little bit of experience what that looks like. Again, this is a recent shift that we had back in March towards pursuing what research looks like in a remote capacity. We have some more information about that as well available on our website about the kinds of projects students have been able to do, the kinds of work students are doing remotely right now. But I would invite either or both of you to talk more about what that looks like for you in your specific case.
Oh, I can go ahead and start off. I guess for me, it's kind of, because my research mostly centers on like the social sciences, part of what research can look like is by conducting surveys. So surveys are a great way to kind of like gather data and information virtually. So there's a lot of great surveys, like survey softwares out there that you can use. I know UCSD has like the Quatrix one, which is really good actually. So that's sort of what I did for my most recent project. I used that survey software to conduct surveys and like ask questions. And I know another thing, I have a lot of friends actually, like my roommates right now are doing research as well. So another popular form of like method that people use is interviews, right? So like we're now all on Zoom and whatnot. And so people kind of sort of through like social media and stuff, they promote their research topic and they ask people if they're interested in being interviewed. You gain contact information and you could like conduct an interview online through Zoom. So those are just like some methods that people can do to like gather data.
Thank you. How about you, James? What does the summer research program look like for you this year, and how have you pivoted your work to work remotely? I think, and especially the fact that you had last summer and then this summer as different experiences, I think it would be great to hear more about what that's looked like for you.
Yes, well, yeah, last summer, what I did was just to research on like how students see mathematical problems. So I didn't really have to like talk to students or anything. I just read articles and gathered the information and like made a framework because it was like a very new research. So I didn't really talk to people. I didn't really have the need to like have like meetings every day or like to talk to other students. And it was more of an individual research. But this time I started working in the chemistry department. During the winter, I did like some lab work. And it was interesting because it was more of a team. I would talk to more people. And when we transitioned, so what we basically did is just to work with data. But even for analyzing that data, we still have to talk to each other. We still have meetings to like share the research, how other graduate students are doing, and I get like the help of my mentor. So it's very interesting. Even though I'm not doing any lab work, I still like get to use data from previous experiments and analyze it. And I'm still learning a lot, like especially like software like Python, R, that is very important and are not really taught in class. So I feel like this was a very good opportunity to learn this type of software. So yeah, it's very different, but I think still like, again, I gain a lot and you can still apply all of this knowledge like in other fields.
Thank you. And I think it really emphasizes, you know, there's many different parts of research and it depends on what field you're studying in. But really, when you think about the methods, how do you go about conducting research? There's two major parts of it, right? One is how you gather information. So as Anahi is talking about, right, surveys, interviews, perhaps you're doing laboratory work, perhaps you're gathering documents, right? And then the other piece, aside from gathering, is how you're interpreting and analyzing it, right? So that's what James was talking about, is even if right now they're not able to collect that data in that lab, there's still a lot of analytical work that needs to happen. And so that's also something that's been moving forward. James, you were just speaking about working with your faculty mentor, and we have some really great questions here from Julie. Thank you for these questions, Julie. And also, please, anybody else who has questions they want to submit, please keep them coming. In relationship to that question of finding a faculty mentor and working collaboratively, could either or both of you speak about the difference between proposing your own individual project versus being involved in a larger collaborative project that a faculty mentor is leading? So what have your experiences looked like? Are you involved in a larger project that's being led by your professor, or have you proposed your own individual project to work on, or maybe a combination of both of those? Because I think that's really helpful to hear as well about that process of how do you actually identify a project, right? Are you signing on to a different ongoing project, or are you proposing your own individual idea that you're working on?
For me, oh, you want to go, James? So for me, for both my research projects, they were actually my own ideas, I guess, or like my own sort of projects, proposals. And I feel like the way that I initially did it was just like when I found like the faculty mentor I wanted to work with, like, so her name is Dr. Contreras, if you all know her or get a chance to meet her. And from the start, like when I sort of asked her to be my mentor, she knew that this was like, I just told her like, oh yeah, I'm interested in researching basic needs at UCSD. And I chose her as my faculty mentor specifically because I know that she does a lot of research on like the Latinx student experience. And so since I was looking at like underrepresented populations, I knew that she was going to be able to help me with that sort of like best methods, best practices. And so from the beginning, I think when I asked her to be my mentor, she kind of already knew like, oh, okay, like this is like her thing, this is what she wants to do. And she just kind of helped to guide me, right? She like provided me with articles and she told me like what books to read and like, but obviously still gave me freedom to like look on my own and look at the databases to see what other articles were out there. But I think just from the start, it was kind of just like she already knew that. She was like, okay, like I'll help you with that. Like, and she agreed to that.
Well, for me, it's a little bit different because when I started research, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do something like, I mean, last year in math and this year in chemistry. And so I follow on the project of my PI. And it's interesting because I'm like helping him like do his research, but I'm also like being able to give insight. So for example, in the research that I'm doing now is from previous experiments. They collected data from the ocean. And what I'm analyzing is like the anthropogenic, like what the human activity, how can we trace it? And I'm like focusing on that, even though the project is a little bit bigger. So I do, even though I'm working on a project that is already existing, I do get a little bit of insight and I can give my opinion and like I can like lead a little bit of the research too.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's great to hear both of your experiences, and I think it points to that in many cases there's a blurriness of what's your own independent project and what is, you know, something that you're collaborating, because in many cases research is always collaborative, right? That you're always part of an ongoing conversation about a topic, a set of questions, an idea. And I think both of your work really illustrates that well. So I think, you know, just keep in mind that if you have an independent idea that you're interested in pursuing, you can absolutely do research around that. And if you're not sure how to get started, maybe you want to get involved with a larger project that's ongoing that a professor is leading, that's an option as well. There's a couple of questions in the chat as well about things about how to access survey software, other kinds of software, learning programming languages. One resource that I'm going to share now in the chat with everybody in attendance is a link to the website that lists all of the university's librarians by subject. This is another really great place to go if you're interested in getting started with research, or if you have questions about, you know, for a specific field, how would you find a set of resources or software that you might need, or skills that you might want to develop. The research librarians are also really great people to go to in addition to possible faculty mentors and professors. So I would definitely encourage people to scroll through that list and see, you know, if you're based on your area of study, if there's a librarian there who you might reach out to as you're interested in getting involved. That's another really great point of contact. Veronica, do you have any questions for our panelists or things that you'd like to elaborate on as well?
So I'm going to ask the panelists, what would be your recommendation for the incoming CASP scholars if they have interest in doing research? How can you guide them? Or what would be your first suggestions? Like if there's a minor, you know, interest in doing research, how can they pursue that?
I think, given that I did research on some like student experiences about trying to obtain research opportunities, I think one of the biggest barriers that I see students talk about is the fact that most students kind of like, I mean, you can start research whenever, like, you know, Veronica and Tyler mentioned, you can be a first year, second year, third year. Some people start like fourth year. I think the trickier thing about that is that oftentimes a lot of people say that they didn't really connect with their faculty or professors, so they don't know how to like ask for like a, you know, or look for a faculty mentor because they're like, I don't know my professors and like I didn't talk to them, and or like I'm shy and stuff like that. So one thing I would say is either A, really like start getting to know your professors, you know, whatever that is, right? Going to office hours. I know we're virtual now, but before I would have been like, take advantage of the coffee with the prof. So definitely start getting to know your professors, but also be like, you don't have to choose a faculty mentor who is your professor. Like my faculty mentor, like I've never had her as a professor before. To be honest, I didn't even know her before I asked her. Like I only connected with her because I asked the director of Oasis if he knew anyone who is kind of like aligned with my research topic. And so that's how I met her, right? So I didn't even know her when I asked her to be my faculty mentor. So I think it's really just about like I think I saw it somewhere in the suggestions, but like really taking the time to look at the professors. Like I know like they have like their own bios or their own websites, and you can see what their interests are and see if they align with you or with your interest, and then taking time to just meet with them, talk to them, and ask them if they you know, if they would like to be your faculty mentor someday, stuff like that. So just keeping like a list, like kind of like taking note of like who you would potentially want as a faculty mentor, because most research programs do require you to have one, and so I think that's a good way to start.
I do agree with Anahi. I feel like it's important to know your faculty. Like for example, something that I would do before choosing my classes, I would like see what were my options and like Google them. Sometimes it works because then you find where they studied, like what they things that they like that they put in their bios. And I feel like having something in common makes it easier to approach them. For example, my current PI studied in Germany and Spain. So there was something already that I could like relate to him, that I could talk, and it wouldn't make it awkward. So I tried to make a relationship before asking to be his mentee. So, and that worked for my other research too. Like my professor, I took like 3 classes with him, and he was very passionate about social justice. That is something that I'm passionate about too. So we had like this topic to talk about. And I think it's very helpful to have first a relationship, to talk, to treat them as people, because at the end of the day, they're people. They're not just like research robots. I don't know how Coffee with a Professor will work now, how like this kind of interactions outside of the classroom will work. But if you have the opportunity to do something similar, I would like encourage it. So that's what helped me, you know, like finding something to relate to them.
That's great, thank you. And we don't have much time left, but I did want to answer one more question live about balancing your research with other kinds of commitments on campus, right? Because you already have so many academic commitments, taking courses, and you know, your social life, other things you might be involved in. So I think it'd be really helpful in closing to hear if our panelists have some thoughts about just that balance, and you know, maybe not just around research, but in general. What would be your advice for our folks in attendance about you know, how to prioritize and how to manage a range of different expectations?
I think for me, it kind of depends, right, on the research program that you're doing. Because as Veronica mentioned, some of them are different like lengths. So like doing McNair during summer, that was 8 weeks long. The trails was like a whole quarter. So one thing that I was actually recommended to me by other folks who did research prior to me was to take like the length of that research program, and for each week, like divided by weeks, right? For each week to have something that you want to like, that you're working towards. So like maybe like I say like, okay, by week 2, I'm gonna start like, I'm gonna have my survey questions ready. Or like, okay, by week 3, I'm gonna send out my survey and like wait for responses. And then like week 4, I'm gonna like, so it kind of like, I kind of like give myself, I guess, deadlines, and that helped with like everything else that was, you know, on top of classes. And I had like 3 jobs at one point. So it kind of helped to like, I think, organize my, like look at the bigger picture and then separate it into like smaller goals. That way I don't feel like as overwhelmed, because I know in the beginning I was like, I have to do this research and like I have to have this complete and present, and like I don't know where to start and I don't know what to do. But it really helped to like break it down.
For me, I think like timing is very important. So I knew that there were some things I wanted to take out of college. One of them was like studying abroad and like being in clubs and being social. So when I like thought about research, I thought like, you know what, my first year is just going to be for me, just study abroad, being social. And also, I feel like my first year, I didn't really want to do research because I didn't really take enough classes to know what I would study, what interests me. So I think it's important to be realistic, like what can you do at the time? And then plan ahead. Like I started research like during my sophomore year, and I could like just dedicate time to that. Like I already knew like how to handle my classes, knew how to like manage my time a little bit. I applied some of the techniques that Anahi talked about, you know, like putting some task at the end of the week that you have to have done. So you see like some progress in the research. So I think like thinking ahead, like thinking what you want to get out of like your college experience is very important, and like just know when is the right timing to do research.
Well, thank you both. I think our time is almost over. I just want to leave you, I want to thank you. I want to thank Anahi, and I want to thank James and Tyler and CASP to give us the opportunity to be here. Once again, welcome to UC San Diego. We would love you to do undergrad research. We're here for you. We have an amazing staff at Academic Enrichment Programs. Reach out to us. We have experts in all fields, and we would love you to explore research. It's never too soon or it's never too late. So we're here for you. Tyler, would you like to say something else? Thanks again. Muchas gracias.
You said it all, Veronica, so I don't have anything to add, just to say thank you again to everybody in attendance, to our wonderful student panelists, and to the team at CASP for inviting us to be here with you today.
Yay! And again, virtual round of applause for everybody here. Thank you all so much for connecting our students with such an amazing resource. So again, y'all, as you're coming in, and I know for a lot of our transfers, you may have a bit of a shorter timeline than our traditional first year. So if you are even curious about research, I would say get on top of it and reach out to the Academic Enrichment Program folks. They're amazing and they're here to support you in any way. And if you want to check out Anahi's research guide, it is on our CASP 101 website under professional and personal development. So definitely check that out and read it. It is really, really good. And again, it'll give you a better idea of what research is and if it's something that interests you. It can look however you want it to look. But other than that, that is all that we have for today. Again, thank you to everybody for attending. And then to all of our participants right now, make sure to check in with your summer intern for your next activities. And other than that, we will be seeing you all early tomorrow morning. And don't forget to wear your CASP 101 Fiat Lux t-shirt tomorrow because we're taking a group picture. Other than that, thank you all so much to our presenters, and we'll be finishing up this presentation for today. Bye, y'all.